Hey everyone, it's Rhonda here from Soapery. Today I thought I would show you how I've made these mermaids. I wanted my mermaids to be a little different, so they are black with purple fins. This is part of our collection that we are doing for the next 2 months. We're going to be doing a fairy adventure collection, which will entail some mermaids. It will also entail some unicorns, and we have also done a fairy adventure soap, which is the little toadstools and so on, which just go back and if you want to see that one, and you'll see it in the list of videos already. But for today we're talking about our crazy little mermaids, and I really wanted these ones to be kind of a bit naughty and black and purple rather than your goody two-shoes mermaids that you just see in blues and greens. So anyway, I've added in all of my mixtures inside. So I've got my hard butters, and then I've just popped in my oils as well. So in my oils here we do have some olive oil, of course, which I just use the light olive oil is the one that I prefer to use, but I will leave a recipe for you all down the bottom. So now we'll get all of the fragrances that we need. So we are going to be using this beautiful lavender. So it's called English lavender, and it's from Pure Candle Supplies. It's kind of like a blend of, you know, country meets lavender, I think. And it's a really nice take on lavender. It's not your traditional lavender, but we're going to be popping it in here and then we're going to be using 3 different mica colors. And the reason we're using the mica colors is we want to get a little bit of a wave of purple in the water. Like I said, I wanted this to be quite different and not your standard mermaid type soap. The only thing that I will give as a tip is sometimes the mermaid fins will really weak because they're a little bit thin in the middle just before you get to the fin, so that makes it a little hard. So you do need to let them cure for some time to get them really hard so that they don't snap, because I did snap a few. Anyway, you can see that I've added in my lye. I've mixed it all up now, so now I'm just going to be pouring it off into the separate jugs, and then I'm going to be adding in the mica colors. The mica colors all come from Sud Off, and also my little mermaid fins have been made with cold process soap. For anyone that knows me, they know that I don't like melt and pour embeds. I can't stand the sweating and the craziness of them. So anyway, I prefer it to be cold process, which also does help when you're actually labeling it, because, you know, if it's melt and pour, you need to be putting all of those ingredients into it. Anyway, we'll clean up all my mess that I've made here and we'll keep going. So I'm using this really nice light lavender. I will actually leave the links of each of the purple colors that I've actually popped in, but we'll start with the first one. I've basically put a tablespoon into each one, and that way it will just make a really nice blend of colors. My suggestion though is do make the colors a little bit more different to what I've done, because they were very similar colors. I really do feel that it didn't show the definition of the lines, which would have been nice to show them. But anyway, but now I'm popping in the deep purple, also from Sud Off, and some of these, especially the light violet, do have like sort of a glittery fleck to it, which is really nice in your mermaid. So you could even use that to put on your embeds and make them a little bit more sparkly around the tail. But I just did pop on some biodegradable glitter on mine, and then it made them look beautiful. Anyway, I'm mixing it all up now. I'm just giving it a quick stick blend because we don't want it to be too thick. It needs to be really thin to be able to do this feathering technique. I have showed another video on how I did it, but I do want to do another, I will have another go of this feathering and using a really contrasting color, because I just think it would work out much better and show, like I said, the definition of the color and show the beautiful technique. But anyway, I mix all my colors up and get them all ready for my next step. So for this we need a larger jug because obviously we're going to be pouring each one into it. So the main idea of this feathering technique is you just literally pour down the spout. So don't pour in the middle, it does need to be down the spout. And then you're going to just keep changing the colors. There's no rhyme or reason. You could actually, follow the same sequence like dark purple light and medium, dark purple light and medium, and so on. Or you can just literally mix them up however you like. So you just try and pour the same amount of each color, on your contrasting times. And that way it will leave the lines to be nice and even. So as we go along, you will be able to see that there is kind of a line, but I'm sure that you will notice here that the colors are really very similar, and so that's why it was a little bit disappointing at the end because they were a little bit mould and definitely didn't stand out the way I wanted, but it still's a lovely soap, and I know that everyone's going to love this because let's face it, who doesn't love a mermaid? They're very mystical and exciting little creatures that we all like to think, are they real or not? So that was my whole idea behind my mermaid. So I'll let you watch me just pop it all in, and then we will get the container, or as I should say, the soap box with its liner in it, and then we'll start to pour it down the side. All right, so all of our colours are in the jug, and now all we're going to be doing is getting our mould. So for this one here, I'm using, I think it's about a kilo one, and all I'm doing is popping a little silicone mould behind it, and it's just to sort of angle the box so it is easier to do this. You don't need to do that. You could literally hold the box in your hand if you really like, and and it's nice and easy. So all you're going to be doing is literally just going from left to right, and keep going with this particular technique, going down the side of the box, not in the middle, just the same as we did when we used the jug. And then that way this feathering technique should give like a water, almost like a water kind of look, back and forward, and like a stripy kind of wavy look. So I continue doing this until I get right to the end. Although silly me, I did realize I did not have enough mixture, so which was fine, because then I ended up just doing a couple layers on top, and I was really happy with it. Like I said earlier, it would have been good if the colors were more contrasting, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. And you can see here how I continuously try and keep the same movement in my hand going back and forward, because if you stay too long at one end or the other, then you'll lose the stripes or the wave look that you're trying to achieve from here. So we'll keep going to the end until I almost run out of mixture, and then I will need to mix up another batch so that I can put the two little lines on top. right, we're all done. So it is looking beautiful, and I'll just clean up because gee, I make such a messy soaper. But you can see here the lines, but how they're really faint, and that's what I mean about the colors. But it still will look beautiful, of course. So now we need to just be on to the next bit, like I said, and I'm going to be doing 2 layers on the top. So I'll use the medium purple, and then I will use the deep purple as well, and that way my mermaids can swim inside those colors. So I'll keep going, like I said, just do my standard mix of a little bit here, and then I'll pop it on top, and then we will come back to pop on the mermaids a bit later. So I'll let you watch this without me talking because I'm sure you don't want to hear that the whole video, and then we'll come back and pop in the mermaids. Also inside, in between the 2 top layers, I did do a bit of a spray of just like a silver mica, but it really didn't show too much because I just didn't want to put too much of a heavy line of it on. Anyway, I wiped the edges of my mold. That doesn't affect the soap, to be really honest. It's just so that I can show you exactly how it's all going to be looking. But it is looking really nice, and now I'm, like I said, just getting everything else ready. So now we will do the top layer because like I said, there was a shortfall in the soap. So but I'll leave my recipe down the bottom. I use this base recipe for most of mine. I don't need to change it unless I'm doing like a face bar or a baby soap or something else. And it's a really good soap to make. You can use soap dough with this, and you don't actually need the sodium lactate. I often do put it in, but you don't need it because it will easily release from the mold. I never have a problem. And mine, I'll leave this for about 20 to 24 hours depending on it. So, you know, you just need to, if you want it thin, I always get asked how to keep it thin. It's just don't keep blending. People think that you need to blend a lot, but you do not. As long as everything is mixed totally in, and you can't see any oil residue sitting on the top, you know it's all good to go, and it doesn't need to be super thick. But do remember too, if you do it too thin, you can get soda ash. That can be a part of that, so don't do it too thin, or else you might actually ruin your project. And also, just to let everyone know, with my soaps, I don't gel them at all. I just let them you know, just come down from the temperature naturally on the bench. I just leave it on my bench or on my table if it's at the warehouse, and I just really leave it there. So and I never have a problem with colours or anything, or part gelling. I've never had anything like that. So I guess it depends on your environment and the heat, but if you had a heater on at home or the cooler, then you may have more problems. But for myself, I don't really have any of those. I've never sort of really noticed that. The only thing that I've had a few times is the DOS, and that can be with the old oil. And I do think I buy my oil from the local shopping centre. Sometimes I do buy it elsewhere, but generally that's where I get it from. And I just thought maybe the oil was a little old, or it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, and that can contribute to the DOS. But anyway, we'll keep going along. And you can see here I popped it into the mould. It did get a little thick at the end, but that's okay. The fragrance works really well, just in case you wanted to know that. It doesn't accelerate it or anything like that. It was just me leaving it too long because I was running back and forward doing a few other things. But anyway, we'll pop this into the mould, and then we're just going to be using our spoon to give it sort of a wave texture at the top before I pop in the mermaids. Alright, so to get this texture, you can see all I'm using is a little disposable plastic spoon. Although I don't throw them out, I do recycle them and just wash them up, because you know, we are trying to save the environment as much as we can. So if I use plastic, I do try and reuse it. So you can see I'm just pushing it into the center, and then that will create a wave, and the little line that you can see in the center that's a little bit higher than the rest of it will allow for my little mermaids to stick in the top. Usually I would do several loaves at once, and I do like this loaf size. I do have much bigger ones that are custom made, but the smaller ones is definitely what my customers want, and these will weigh around about the 150 to 180 grams depending on it. And you will notice here I did snap one of the fins, so you can see here I bent it and then it just broke. I was like, oh no. So anyway, I had to fix that and get rid of it. But like I said, they are really, really fragile. So maybe next time I shouldn't have held it the way I did, and I should have actually held it more from the base. But I think next time I will actually leave the fins to cure a little bit longer than what I've done. And you'll also see that some of the fins are dark purple and some are light purple, because I wanted them to be a little bit different. So when I go to the market, it gives people a bit more choice of which mermaid they want to choose. So I'm sure you can agree, look how cute that looks. It's looking absolutely adorable. And I know that my mermaids are not going to be like everyone else's that will be, you know, purple, not purple, teals or blues or seafoam colours. I just did want them to be a bit different. And to match in with the purple, I just decided to put a little purple berry on the other side. It's not really about the berry. It was more just, it had a little nice sort of round bubbly textures to this berry, so I thought it went with the whole sea theme and a little bit different. And then at the end I have actually sprinkled some dry cornflowers on it, which you'll see me do that in a moment. Alright, so I've sprinkled in my botanicals on top, just a real tiny bit, so that way people can pull them off and they don't go down the drain. And then what I decided to do is I had some little candies in the jar and I just separated to get the ones I wanted, which were just black and white hearts. And then I've just sprinkled them down the middle just as something of a bit of difference. The one thing that I will tell you is when you're using botanicals in particular, when you're cutting the soap, it brings really big drag marks, which it definitely did to this. I was a little bit disappointed with a couple of the bars because they did have big drag marks on it, but there was nothing else I could do from that. I just had to go with it. Once I'd put them on, I just couldn't get them off. So anyway, but that is definitely something to consider before popping those on top. But I'll let you watch me do this because I always think when I watch videos, the background music drives me crazy. So I usually take it off for you and then I just do the voiceover. So that way you can just hear me explain how I've done it and you can watch it in peace. And hopefully my videos are calming and educational for everyone. All done. So here's a quick little snippet so that you can see the mermaids that I have actually done. And for anybody that wants to know, the black that I've used is an oxide. So you can use an oxide or a pigment instead of a mica. The micas make it go grey, not black. So that's how I've achieved the really dark kind of black look. And now here I'm just going to show you a little bit here of how I've done it. And then of course some photos at the end so you can see the end result. I've cut it, popped my stamp on, and it's all ready to go. So it still does have a couple more weeks curing time before I can release it, but I'm sure you can agree, look how amazing it looks, and so much fun with the purple and the black, and staying away from the sea theme colors just for once. Anyway, thanks for listening. Make sure you pop on a notification and subscribe if you would like. See you on the next video in a few days.